Hey everybody, welcome to Game Trade Media's Painting Happy Little Minis. I'm Rick.
And I'm Dave.
And this is a show where we like to paint miniatures, as is in the title.
Yeah. We like to paint happy miniatures.
Yes.
Little ones.
Little minis that are happy. Today we are going to be doing some Games Workshop specific.
Yep.
Focusing on the new contrast paints.
Surprise, surprise.
I mean, it might be a big thing on the internet right now.
I think it has been.
Yeah, I agree.
We're coming in a little bit late. They were released like 3 days ago.
Right. Yeah.
So yesterday.
we're already, behind the 8 ball, and everybody's already like, we've heard all about this.
Yep.
Nah.
So instead, listen to Rick regale us with tales of Origins.
It all began last Wednesday.
Last Wednesday.
Oh.
Last Tuesday, really.
Yeah, the trip out there did begin last Tuesday.
Your Mystery Machine trip.
Yeah, which was a blast.
Yeah.
Johnny's a lot of fun as a road companion. I'm probably less fun.
Okay.
But he's a lot of fun.
Okay, cool. That's good. Is that because you need to keep going to the bathroom all the time?
I do.
Can you please stop?
Yeah, all the time. Well, we had a good time out there. For those of you that maybe tuned in and watched some of the programming on Twitch, lots of fun. Got to see a lot of people within the industry that we only get to really see there.
See at the shows,
which is nice. And there's a lot of collaborative works that took place. If you watch Painting Happy Little Minis, I want to say on Saturday.
Oh, I missed it on Saturday.
We had Jason Acevedo.
Oh, cool. Excellent. From Rattlesmith.
From Smith and Vallejo Paints.
Yep.
And we had Blair Mackey from Gale Force 9.
Okay, excellent.
And Jake.
Yep.
From Alpha Omega Hobbies.
Cool.
Took my place.
Okay. Oh, wow. He was the host?
He was the host.
Wow.
And they painted Fury.
Okay.
Some tanks from Fury.
Oh, cool. Excellent.
Which was a lot of fun.
That's
and cool. Oz knew all about that product, so the conversations were really good. I would have been like, cool, I like tanks.
So, this T-34, what are you talking about?
I have no idea. So it was really good, and also I had an opportunity to paint with Jason on his show, which was also live streamed at Origins as well, where we painted the Green Dragon.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Was it the Green Dragon? I think it was the Green Dragon.
Okay.
Could be wrong.
Yeah. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a whole day. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. And if you missed it, I'm sorry, but if you'll be able to watch the videos on YouTube. Leona has been cranking them out and putting them up. They'll be premiering, I think tonight at 6 is the first one.
Yep.
Excellent.
And then they'll be periodically dropping.
Very cool. Then. I got the chance to watch the Friday episode with Adam and Pete from Come On.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yep.
Those guys are always a blast.
Yeah, definitely good.
And Come On was not actually at the at the convention. They didn't have a booth. They had no presence in that capacity. They were there for some retailer meetings and presentations and gamma voting stuff.
Okay.
But they just came on the show. As you saw, some more song and
the Followers of Bone looked pretty nice. Yeah. They look great.
Yeah,
but anyway.
Right. But we're here to talk about GW stuff.
Yes, contrast paints.
And just say hi to everybody in the chat. We got Josh at Mini Painting. We got Dave Shrump, Sarah. Dave Shrump says, here we go.
Here we go.
One Inch Heroes is with us. Johnny's kind of tuned in as well. It was the Green Dragon. Yeah, it was the Green Dragon. Okay. But I also painted a White Dragon with Whiz Kids as well at our booth, which was nice. Okay. Cat Swift says, good afternoon, guys.
Hey, Cat.
Is that Johnny Payne over there? Hey, hey.
Yep. Jeff
says hello. Rick, did you try again to paint in the van? I did not. No. I was Hazard. It was Hazard if I would have done that. I'm sure. Yeah.
I'm not sure. Guessing you might have seen it last year, Kat, but it was 2 minutes of Rick trying to paint in a shaky van, and then the signal would drop, and when the signal would come back, it would be 1 minute and 45 seconds of Rick apologizing for the signal dropping before we got another 15 seconds of painting before the signal dropped again.
And it was just that
rinse, repeat.
Yeah.
Yep. From here to Columbus. Oh my God.
Yeah, that was
painful.
Yeah, sorry.
Somebody sitting on the sidelines. And by sidelines, I mean my basement.
Yeah.
But anyway. Cool.
You've actually been playing with us a little bit more than I have.
I've been messing around with these. I've been messing around with these.
I'm going to let you kind of like lead that whole process.
So talk through it.
Yeah.
So one of the things I'm going to mention first is this is actually the first time that I've noticed the little tray product that Games Workshop has. So apparently you can there's a box you can buy 2 of these in the box to sort of put all of your paint pots in. But it's great. It's a fantastic size. I can do something. Sorry, Leona, for the grossness of the sound, but you can shake all of your paints at the same time.
It's so good.
How amazing is that? But yeah, this is a really handy one. We've been keeping the contrast paints in these racks, so it's nice and easy to find them.
It has these little hook things too.
It does have these little hook things, so you can make a little stand, so it stands up on your desk.
Yeah, I'm going to try to put it together, but I'm probably going to. Oh, there's one.
Cool. So you got that first one.
It's going to be difficult because this paint pot is already in there. So,
what I'm going to do while Rick's doing that. Oh no, there we go. I got it.
cool.
Check it out.
Yeah, it's nice.
It is cool. So what I'm going to do is going to run through a few things on the spinner here at the moment. The 2 we've got up here, these are both Stormcaster tonals from the, I think, Tempest of Souls box set. So they're pretty cool minis. These were both primed with white primer, the Citadel Corax white. This is before we got the Grey Seer and the Wraithbone in. Yay! And these are just testers to try out. So this is Blood Angels Red, 1 single coat, no messing about on that. The yellow is the Iandan yellow when that comes around. We'll flick around again. There we go. Again, just a single coat there. And that's all I did on that mini.
Yeah, it looks amazing.
So far. So a grand total of about 5 minutes.
Ridiculous.
Which is impressive.
Yeah.
On the other one that's coming out again, I did the armor first.
Okay.
And I used Skeleton Horde, which obviously gives a bone kind of look. I did that over the armor plates. And I did it over the shoulder pads as well. So the pauldrons there, the interior of those, where I've got that dark green. Then I used the Aethermatic Blue for the sort of the lower skirt part. And then I'm going to spin them a little bit faster. There we go. I used Pterodon, I think Pterodon Turquoise for the tabard part.
Okay.
So the front part of the tabard there and up on the chest. And then I used that same Pterodon Turquoise on the shoulder pads, on the pauldrons there, over the Skeleton Horde. And I'm not sure, it's not really picking it up on the camera, but there's a very definite difference between the 2.
Okay.
So it looks like a different color. It's still green. It's sort of like greenish, bluish. So green with a blue tinge to it, but it is different. It's very obviously different.
Okay.
Shifted in the spectrum there. So that was kind of cool to see that sort of difference. I've used it on a few other models as well, some of them not GW.
Okay.
But didn't bring those in. We got the primers in last week, so I went and primed a few more Stormcast Eternals in the different colors. So that one is the Grey Seer, and these ones are in the Wraithbone. So you can see they're both very pale primer coats, which even the Wraithbone with that sort of bonish color has a bit of grey in it. It's sort of desaturated bone. So it's going to be interesting to see how the same color paints will work on
the different primer.
I put these minis together really quickly, and some of them aren't glued together.
Okay.
Most of them are sort of push fit minis. So that's why you'll see some of those gaps down the shoulder pads.
So what do you think of the consistency of the new contrast paints? Do you find it to be overly pigmented or?
No, well, it's an odd one. It's a thicker medium than a wash.
Okay.
It's not as thick a medium as a regular paint. So it's in between those two.
Right.
but it has a lot of pigment in
Okay.
it, and I think that's basically the idea.
Right.
Is that it can deliver a lot of pigment. Some of the paints have some of the contrast paints, like the yellow, like you've got Ankney yellow.
Mm-hmm.
Which I'm just going to pop up on the spinner here for a sec. Yep. The Ankney yellow it's almost as if it has a lot of yellow pigment suspended in an orange medium,
Okay.
so that when you put it on, you'll get the pigment will settle it sort of on the surface,
Right.
and the medium will run down into the
cracks.
cracks. So you get the yellow and the orange,
Okay.
which is sort of what that result is on the tablet at the front there. So yeah, seeing that much yellow sort of be so strong on that first pass
Yeah.
and have shading on it was pretty exciting to go through that.
Okay.
One that I haven't tried as a different example there, I haven't really tried this one, is the Nasdrag yellow. And you look at it in the pot and you go, ugh.
It's kind of a reddish brown.
It's like a murky sort of brownish sort of color.
Okay.
But that I think is going to have the yellow through to a brown finish, which is a bit more like the way that I usually paint my yellows.
Okay.
I'll start with a brownish yellow mix, and then highlight up the layer of the yellows on top. So from that sort of point of view, it's exciting. It's interesting to see what the approach
Right.
sort of that's been taken with those.
Do you feel like that there's a learning curve in using these paints, even with your experience?
Oh yeah, definitely,
Okay.
definitely. Yeah, for anybody really. I think primarily there's a lot of the talk around it. Some of the presentation from GW, plus a lot of the presentations from people online in various stages, and people talking about it online. I think the impression is that it's supposed to be very definitely a beginner paint your stuff more quickly, or not so much a beginner paint, but if you don't like painting as much, you can get your stuff, you can cut a step out of your painting. Painting will take less time, that kind of thing.
Okay.
I think one of the important things though is that it's quite an unforgiving paint.
Right.
Normally with what you're expecting with other washes, for example, other shades, if you were to put this yellow over and you splashed over onto another area, well, not splashed, but you accidentally brushed over onto another area, that it wouldn't affect the next layer so much on that area that you've accidentally brushed onto. With these, not sure exactly why, but basically you need to be very precise.
Okay.
You don't want to have that splashing over. If you do splash over, if you've got some of the original primer, like a paint-on color that's the same as the primer you've used. So there are sets of Wraithbone and Grey Seer in pots.
Okay.
I think you can go back and touch those up
With the primer.
with the same primer color.
Okay.
So that your color is even, consistent over there.
Okay.
Because I think more than anything else, it's going to highlight any inconsistencies.
Right.
So that's something I definitely kind of recommend.
Okay.
Recommend doing. We haven't been sent any, and I was going to pick some up from Competition Minis today. But actually, I was going to pick some up from Titan Games last night, but they're unfortunately closed on Mondays. I found that out after rock climbing. And I was going to pick up some from Competition Minis today, but they sold out on Saturday, and they're getting their order in tomorrow. So Thursday.
For them, that's not a bad sign. If they're sold out on the product already, that's amazing.
That's definitely cool.
Yeah.
Definitely cool.
So I know that Josh from Mini Painting Studios has had an opportunity to play with this as well.
Okay.
He had some content up already.
Okay.
So I'd almost like to, and anybody else that's already used the paints themselves, what are some of your thoughts and as far as like benefits or things that you're seeing that you're going to have to change in your technique when using these paints accomplish the effects you're looking for? Or are you just like, yeah, it just
Yeah.
takes away like 15 steps?
And just here on the screen, just going to grab some of this Nasdrag yellow because I haven't used it before. What I'm going to do, we've got a whole bunch of minis here. Actually, one thing I will mention, which kind of surprised me a little bit, was at the same time as I was priming, like this guy here in Wraithbone, I was, sorry to switch back to the spinner of that, Leona. So, at the same time as I was, almost there. There we go. So, both of these minis start as gold plastic. So it's from one of the starter sets where the plastic is colored. So it's in there with the night haunts, who are in a sort of creepy green kind of thing. I primed these at exactly the same time. They started at exactly the same colored plastic. But for some reason, the Wraithbone worked perfectly fine on this model, but it just didn't want to take as well to this one. It wasn't that it was splotchy or anything like that.
Okay.
It's just that the gold wanted to show through a lot more. So what I decided to do with some of those, I had a couple of models. I had a similar sort of thing with the Grey Seer.
Okay.
I'm just really not at all sure why it worked that way. But I've hit them with some Corax White. So this guy, for example, has a Corax White spray as well.
Okay.
So we'll mess around and see what we get out of that too. So it'll be fun.
So I've been...
Oh, sorry. Kat, basic question. Would one coat of this paint be similar to doing a coat of one paint and then a wash of the deeper color? That's, yeah, Kat, that's kind of the general idea with most of it. The tough part is that you'll need a lot of experimenting kind of thing to understand what the colors are going to look like out of the pot once they go on to the mini, what primer coat you're putting down, how they're going to react over those different primer coats. So I'm just going to paint this one on here, and you can see over the Wraithbone, it's got a very it's got that bright yellow in there, but
You can also see that orange.
yeah, tinged with the sort of the brown, really. Yeah, almost a grimy kind of look underneath it. But the fact that it's usually when you're painting with yellow over a bright color, you might need to do 2 coats of the yellow.
You're right.
And then you do your shading.
But this
and
does
come
it
back
right
and do the
off.
highlight. But this has got the pigmentation is so strong, and the way that the medium works just lays it down really quickly. But you can see up in the corners here, I'm trying to be very careful to make sure that I don't sort of slip over onto other areas. Because until I get that Wraithbone in a pot and Grey Seer in a pot,
Yeah.
I want to be very careful and avoid that sort of thing. I mean, we'll show an example of it as well. But one of the other things about it is that normally with glazes or washes, you do your first layer, and if you think, oh, it needs to be darkened up a little bit, you can put down a second layer. With these, certainly from the examples I've seen online, is that second layer will be will make the whole thing a lot darker.
Okay. Yeah, almost a whole different scheme.
And yeah, and essentially you'll lose a lot of the contrast that you've sort of created originally. Well, not created, but painted on. So that looks pretty crazy.
Yeah.
So Nasdrag is an orc character, an orc war boss from the Bad Moons clan,
Okay.
who are all about wearing bright yellow armor. So that's why this is Nasdrag yellow.
That makes sense. One says, I'm eager to see firsthand how the contrast paints work. Chris Gorkas says, hello. Carl says, I saw that episode. I had to tap out. Hello, everyone. Very cool. Dave, how does the consistency compare with the technicals like Wraith Flame and Nighthaunt Gloom?
I would have I would have loved to have grabbed my Hex Wraith Flame right now and done a comparison.
Okay.
I think consistency wise, they're pretty similar.
Okay.
So I think that the Hex Wraith Flame and the Nighthaunt Gloom were probably their original testers for it.
That makes sense.
And I mean, of course, they would have been developing this range long before the release of those two paints. But yeah, the consistency is similar. I think the Hex Wraith Flame and the Nighthaunt Gloom don't have as strong a pigmentation as these do. You're probably more likely to get a result that looks something a bit more like the which this one, the Aethermatic Blue out of the Hex Wraith Flame and the Nighthaunt Gloom. I say I would love to be able to show you, but when I was packing up my paints to bring them today, I put them all into my trays at home and then left them at home. So these are the studio paints. So that was a little bit disappointing there. But one of the other things as well is they take a little bit longer than a normal paint or paint to dry.
Yeah.
Possibly around about the same time as a wash, but because they are so heavily pigmented, the thing you want to try and avoid is leaving a I painted up here, sort of like getting to a point like that on the shoulder pad where you haven't quite finished painting all of it, and walk away. Because when you come back, you're going to have a little tide mark down that line. So when you're painting, you need to make sure, when you're using these, you need to make sure that you're not distracted and you can finish that section. You can have a little break, but nothing longer than 20 seconds. Because you just don't want to end up with those marks, particularly on larger, flatter surfaces. Like you're working on a Tau Devilfish, which is a pretty bold choice, my friend.
Thanks.
Bold choice. But yeah. Oh, there we go. There's the overhead cam. Which color were you using though?
So this is the Militarum
green?
Yeah. Cool.
So I'm going to put this one aside, let that dry for a little bit. Put it up there. And I might come back to that one and we'll have a look at how you can thin them down a little bit and do some other extra shading or add some extra colors in there to change those sort of tones. I'm going to pop this one here with the Wraithbone. The Grey Seer color on. Which one are you looking for?
So one in here is, does the Hex rack have wall mounting holes? Yes, they do. James actually answered the question before I could. Good job, James. Thank you.
Yep.
Michael Harris says, howdy all. Sorry I'm late. No worries, Mike. We're glad to have you here. So many painting studios in regards to the questions we've asked.
Yep.
He goes, I agree. It's a good gaming tool for fast painting. Otherwise, I think what most other people are noticing is the time you can save using it. You reinvest cleaning up or darkening the contrast in the mini, which you lose with all the white base tone. I couldn't get it to work with a zenithal, however. I have heard if you do gray and a very heavy white, you can get some more pre-shading.
Yeah, I think one of the things as well, because it does have, I probably need to shake this a little bit better, because it does have a translucency to it, with it's got, all of them have got a pretty good translucency to them. The regular zenithal, which might be black on the underside and white on top, giving you a fairly extreme contrast already, is not going to work as well. You're not going to sort of see things. It's not going to feel that it's working as well as you're painting it. So like putting the red or yellow on, it's going to go from a yellow through a kind of strange gray, dirty gray to a dirty black kind of thing.
All right.
So it's going to have its applications. It's going to take a while for a lot of people to work out how they want to use it, because that's really what it is. It's a tool. It's a new tool that is bright and colorful,
Right.
and will help a lot of people. Get armies on the table, which is
What
really
we want.
really what what we want to be able to do with it. So there we go. That's better. Now, normally with washers, if you do a lot of shaking like that, you'll get a lot of air bubbles through it.
Right.
The medium that it's in can really handle all that shaking without any air bubbles. You can see in the pot there. There aren't any. So it's much more like a paint in that sort of regard. That's seeing the difference there in the mediums.
James says that their GW store had a test table to try the paints, and it was cool. Mike Becker says, also, Dave, have you figured out how to not get splotchy results on armor and with the darker paints?
When you say splotchy results, you mean like over larger, flatter areas? I haven't yet. I haven't really sort of messed around with that, because it's a wash, and the idea is to sort of accentuate contrast, really. I think it's best applied over like a textured surface. So for this, the ripples of the folds of the clothing is a great place for it to work sort of straight out of the pot. For larger, flatter areas like
What I was doing,
like your
if you want to show it, there's a lot of streaking.
Yep. So yeah, with that larger, flatter area, like Rick's done on the devilfish here, it's going to. This one might have needed a bit of shaking as well, a bit of extra shaking on the green. You're going to get some pooling. You're going to get some streaking, and as well, when I was talking about that, like the tide lines, and being able to. So on something this large, you want to work from here, sort of across as quickly as you can.
Yep.
So it's kind of tough. If we mess around with this one, let me just check and make sure I've got all the spots here, so I don't end up with any tide marks. I'll get that out of the way, and then I'll mess around on one of these drones. Get that done. Out of the way there.
Also, the contrast paints work a treat on Knowles Zero figures.
On the
I bet you they do.
Yep. Yep.
Carl says, in my opinion, there's no way I could use these paints. My brush skills are just too poor. All my attempts to become more skilled at the brush have failed. I may still have a pot, but my FLGS chased me out when I tried to pick up a pot early.
I think you should definitely try. The key is going to be that neatness. I've said it. I've said it a number of times before that. Before, like if you're a relatively new painter, I know Carl's been painting for ages and he's being silly. But
in a good way.
The important thing is practice your neatness first before you try and do shading and washing and dry brushing and all that sort of stuff, and highlighting. But if you're getting neat lines, neat block colors first, these will help you with to just remove that step in between, or combine those two steps of the base color and the wash. So that one's shaken up quite a bit more. Let's try one of these drones here. Actually, I'm going to push it back there for a sec.
So while he's working on that, I'm working on one of the Space Marine Heroes.
Space Marine Heroes
Second wave.
Second wave.
And this is one of the ones still from the Japanese box set.
Very cool.
But I'm using the contrast paint Flesh Tears Red.
Flesh Terror Red.
Fresh Tears Red.
Yep.
This is, I mean, it looks like just blood.
Oh my goodness.
And I think
my
it has
laugh was quite evil there.
Yeah. And I think that the contrast on this particular paint isn't quite as distinct as the yellow.
Sure. Yep. Yep. It's that deeper red. It's what it's leaving as a highlight is a darker red.
Yeah.
So.
It still looks amazing. And I can see for someone like me that, though I don't particularly play this game,
Yep.
but I do like painting the models. If I wanted to play it, and I took my 8th edition model, and I said, all right, I want to put an army together, I could definitely put something together that would be table
ready.
Or table ready relatively quick.
Table ready is the term that GW is using.
Table ready?
Table ready.
Okay.
Yep. Okay. So we can see here on the on this drone, that sort of flat surface, that it's kind of got that pooling there at the moment. What I think it's important to do as well is that, like when you're painting, that the way it dries is different to the way it looks as it goes on.
Oh, absolutely.
So we'll just let that. I'm tempted to kind of mess around with it a little bit, but at the same time, I know that it's going to be a little bit different. I'm just shaking up some of the technical contrast medium.
Is that the big white?
The big white pot.
And what is that used for?
So this is basically, if you were to extract all of the color out of any of these pots, that's what you'd be left with.
Okay.
So a better way of saying it really is that's what they start with, is the medium, and then they just pump the different pigments and colors into it.
So what do you use it for in that state with the other paints?
So with the medium, just like any medium really, so a regular paint or a wash or that kind of thing, you can thin them down with water. These are all water-based sort of things.
Okay.
But it changes, if you thin it down with water, it changes the structure of it, and it changes the opacity, and changes the way that it sits on the model.
Okay.
So by using the medium as something to thin the paint down or to dilute the paint, you can still get it to sit on the model in the same way.
Okay.
So it's basically, in this case, with the with the Militarum green, it's just going to give that more sort of diluted look.
Okay.
Almost like a faded look without it being a thinner kind of look.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
I'm trying to think of it in terms of like clothing.
It'll still have the same viscosity.
Yeah.
Instead of using water, which would actually thin it out.
Yeah. Yeah. So thinning is a bit like wearing frayed jeans or worn jeans, that kind of thing, rather than just a lighter pair of jeans.
Right.
Kind of thing. So, so yeah, try that mixing on the palette there, and you can see sort of going on there. It's kind of tough because it's a little bit glossy because it's wet, but
I will say, just going back to the origins conversation.
Yep.
One of the fun things this past show was the fact I got to meet Rad.
Oh yeah.
Rad Algren.
Cool.
Was there. Really cool guy. And Walter.
Excellent. Walter Bledsoe?
I believe it was Walter Bledsoe. There was a Walter there.
There's a Walter?
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't see his name badge for the last name, and I apologize for that. But it was awesome. They were all great guys.
Cool.
And there are others, obviously, that are usually watching our shows, our programming that were there.
Right.
That are industry folks.
Okay.
And
cool.
yeah.
So I'm just going to show that there. You can see that. If you have a look at that, Rick.
Huh.
So you can see those two very different results there.
Yeah, that is.
Whereas if I'd just taken some of this and just thinned it with water. Even on the palette there, you can see the sort of different look between the two there.
Oh, yeah.
And then if I
Okay.
it's going to end up being a little bit less smooth, slightly more blotchy. But yeah, using the contrast medium is a way that you can that can help you start to layer up and get some more depth that you might want. But
Yeah, I can see that. Now, let me ask you this.
Yep.
If you do the first one like this,
Yep.
let that dry, and then apply this with thin down with the medium,
Yep.
is it going to give you a highlight, or is it going to just...
Oh, it's going to continue to tint the
Okay.
thing. So I was watching some videos this morning from my buddy Ash
Okay.
Barker, who does Guerrilla Miniature Games.
Okay.
Normally he doesn't do any painting videos because he likes to keep painting for his own hobby. He does a lot of battle reports. But Ash did a series of what can contrast do for you
Okay.
kind of paints, kind of videos, which is very cool. But he described it there as, imagine the contrast paint is like a thin layer of translucent glass. So you're putting that over the
Right.
model. So if you put another layer of that same translucency, it's going to be darker
Yep.
and darker and darker and darker. So when you've got something like the Flesh Terror's Red, which is quite dark, or Wildwood, or Gore Grunter Fur, they're all going to be very dark on the second that second sort of application. So then I'm just going to head back to this one for a sec. I think Leona's fallen asleep. She's a little bit bored by this.
No, she's just riveted by the contrast paints, I can tell.
She is. So yeah, they're still drying at the moment there for the red, but looking pretty crazy. I'm going to grab a different one, throw some blue on it.
You know who I think would actually do very well at painting?
Who?
Leona.
Leona? I think she'd be great.
She's artistically inclined, obviously.
Yep.
She has to put up with us. That in itself is an art.
Right.
But I've seen some of her drawings and everything.
Yeah.
And I think that she would do very well at this.
Cool.
We should
You should give it a go, Leona.
yeah, we should let Johnny run the camera one day and have you paint with us. What do you think? Nice.
Sounded super confident. Yes, totally. Let's do that. Says Leona. Okay, so I'm going to mess around now with some the Ultramarines blue. I haven't used this one yet.
No?
No.
I
So I figured I'd try it on the armor because it looks quite dark there. Just going to get a little bit of water.
Carl says, I hate to be that guy, but what happens when you push him through an airbrush? Ooh.
Apparently, and I haven't done this myself, so I can't say it's completely true, but I believe it to be true. Just like any other, like if you're putting a wash through an airbrush or a glaze through an airbrush, what it tends to do is because it's hitting the model as a particle, a particulate kind of thing, it gives you like a flat sort of finish, a flat surface. So it's the medium and allowing the medium to settle is what gives the contrast paint its sort of signature ability.
Okay.
Kind of thing. So, but if you were to pump that through an airbrush, you lose that that part of the physics of it.
Okay.
I guess. So you could try it. It won't give you the sort of quick shading result. But there are some new colors in this line that I think you could have fun with. quite neat.
Got a lot of people. I have it as a watch party over on my page as well.
Okay,
right now.
cool.
And Carrie Insights is talking with Chris Williams about if you soak models. They're talking about like stripping models.
Oh, okay.
Everybody over there watching on my page, thank you.
Excellent.
Yeah. So one of the things that is being kind of chatted about is the price of these.
Okay.
At what, almost $10 a pot? Is that right? $6.99 to $10, depending on the store and the region you're in.
I don't think it's $10, my friend.
No.
But anyway.
Or because these are
Oh, spray can. The spray
are
cans.
18.
Yeah. The GW primer cans have been 18 for a while.
A while, yeah.
Yep. Yep.
I saw someone in here did say that they're like $10 a pot at their store.
Might be $10 Canadian.
Ooh, could be.
Might be $10 Australian.
Because you got to bump it up 30%, pretty much in Canada
for the across the border tax.
Can you mix any ordinary paints with the contrast?
Yeah, you can. Actually, if you don't mind, I'd like to go to a picture. I'm just going to quickly run around this rim so I don't end up with that tide mark. But yeah, I sent Leona a photo this morning from a excellent painter in the UK called Richard Gray.
Okay.
Richard Gray's won a bunch of painting awards.
Okay.
And does fantastic work. I think this year he did some classes at Adepticon.
Okay.
And oh, cool.
Oh, there it is.
Excellent. So yeah, look at this mini. So Richard Gray was one of the painters, the sort of the professional painters that was invited along to GW back in February.
Okay.
And they got to sort of experiment on them early. This is one that he's done post announcement of contrast paints, but before they were released. And with this one, he primed the model black. Okay. Then he did a zenithal highlight by spraying the pot version of Wraithbone, so the Wraithbone paint out of the pot, through an airbrush from the top right. Oh, sorry. Top left. Oh, left of the model, right on the picture.
Okay.
So use that over black. Then for the purple, he used Magus purple and basically painted that over. Oh, that's volupus pink, Magus purple. Then he painted that over the skin areas, and then he went back and mixed in some of the original Wraithbone paint into that basically for a highlight color. Normally, when you're mixing paints for highlights, you want to get some nice sort of thin highlights. You thin them with water. Okay. But generally, with the contrast paints, when you start mixing into those, you don't need to thin them with water any further with water. Then, like some of the speckling on the belly of that Trogoth there. Right. Again, that's the mix of the Magus purple and the Wraithbone. Okay. Then on the bluish areas, he used I think it's the Pterodon turquoise, and again highlighted those up by mixing either the Wraithbone or white into those to get the highlights on those areas. Similar sort of thing with the wood on the haft of the weapon and that sort of thing. So this is a way that somebody who's had a couple of months to think about them, mess around with them, practice, and who was already a spectacular painter and knows a lot about his shading and contrast and that kind of thing. So he was able to push this out in a couple of quick painting sessions.
It's ridiculous.
It is. It is ridiculous, isn't it?
Yeah, it's ridiculous. How good that looks, and his skill set is off the charts.
Yeah, I definitely recommend to everybody, if you're on Facebook, head over, just do a search for Richard Gray. He's a miniature painter in the UK. His page, like his business page on Facebook, is just Richard Gray.
Okay.
So it looks like you're friending a person, but you're actually
Liking
a business page.
An artist.
An artist. But yeah, you get to see all of the stuff that he's been messing around with lately with contrast paints, and also like mixing them with other colors and so on. So yeah, that's very cool. On Thursday, I hope to have some photos from Tyler Mengel, who is an American painter who also got to go over and mess around with the paints. But he's been doing some spectacular Sylvaneth models, also from Age of Sigmar.
Okay.
Over the last few weeks, but
Nice.
I'll show you those. So hopefully that answered that question.
Yeah.
Who's that? Clive asked that one.
Yeah.
Yep. So yeah, that's definitely, you can definitely do that. Actually, I'm going to mess around with some of that now. Where's that yellow?
We also have. Let's see what else we got here. Looks like a drawing on paper. What is that?
Oh, saying that the Trogoth.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's he's got. He approached it with a very painterly approach.
Like a 2D paint approach? Mm-hmm. Like when you say talking like a two-dimensional paint?
Like a two-dimensional painting, yeah.
Okay.
So where smoothness and photorealism isn't as much of a priority. But yeah, there's I think particularly on the rock, on the hammer, there's with some of those fades and the highlights, it has a very sort of comic book kind of look to it.
It did.
Yeah. So, okay. So I've opened this the Nasreg yellow back up, and I'm going to take a bit of it here just to do a couple of things with it. Do a little bit of shading down in the down here.
So they're charging. So one of the stores back in Jacksonville, North Carolina, has got these at $8 a pot.
Okay. I thought it was sort of around that. Okay. That kind of level. I'm not 100% sure. I must admit that with, and yes, I did just lick my brush after using the contrast paints.
You're going to have contrast
mouth? I'm not kissing you with that contrast mouth. Some of them taste okay, and some of them, like Nasreg Yellow, does not taste particularly good.
I don't think any of them taste particularly good.
Wow. It's an acquired taste.
Right. Charred brown, delicious.
Delicious. It's just like chocolate. So yeah, you can see here. Normally, if I was painting or had a glaze that it made from thinning down a paint, I'd be able to paint it in and come back and push it around a little bit more. But this works a little bit differently. And again, because you want to layer that in and let it sit there, let the medium do its work. Mm-hmm. It's going to end up with some different kind of results. So that's going to take practice to understand how that's going to work best.
So do you foresee you adding the contrast paints to your repertoire of painting arsenal for future commissions and such?
Without a doubt.
Okay.
Yep. Without a doubt.
I think that's one of the biggest. I mean, as you all know, a lot of our content we create here at Painting Happy Minis, we do obviously paint because we enjoy it. We also paint because we are marketing a little bit of the product.
Oh yeah.
You know, as for the companies, and I think that's the biggest thing that you can take with you is, are the painters out there going to incorporate this into their toolbox? And you saying absolutely is a good sign to the fact that this is a good product. I
think and just like the regular paint line, regular GW paint line, there will be some paints that I'll use a lot, and there will be some paints that I never use at all.
Sure.
It's going to be the same sort of thing. So I think I can see myself using Ayand in yellow a lot.
Yes,
Yep.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Blood red, Blood Angels red, sorry.
Okay.
Probably that. Skeleton Horde, Gore Grunter fur
Okay.
is a bit more of a reddish brown.
Okay.
Wildwood is the darkest brown. I can see myself using that quite a bit. Probably the Militarum green and the camo Creed. Sorry, Creed camo.
Creed camo.
Creed camo.
Okay.
I think I've used those quite a bit. But as you can see here, I'm just messing around, mixing in some white into the Nazreg yellow. So they can then...
Morgan has a question from YouTube.
Oh, sorry. Morgan says, hey guys, what's going on with the Stormcast? I'm not
All
sure.
the good things.
How does the coverage vary on flat surfaces? I've got a load of Sequitors with dark blue cloaks to paint, and I don't like the patchiness of contrast paints. I'm just going to make it silky smooth. I think, actually, what I want to do here, which one are the Sequitors again? I can't remember. You can let me know. Hey, Pete and Rick. Oh, he said, he says, hello, gentlemen, and Rick.
And Rick.
Morgan, yeah, I can't remember which ones they are, but give me a second. I'll grab one of the darker blues and try it on these cloaks here. But honestly, I think if we always go back to the thing, it's a tool, and there'll be a bunch of different ways to use it. People are going to come up with some very inventive ways, and also there's going to be a bunch of people who don't need to use it.
Sure.
They don't feel the drive to use it, which is absolutely fine too. They'll have their techniques that they already use now and they enjoy. It's kind of funny, like a lot of the stuff that I'm painting at the moment, I'm halfway through
Right.
an army. So while I'd like to try and mess around with these, I don't want to change the paint style
Right.
for the armies. So it's going to be a little while until I've got an army project that I want to bust these out on.
Okay.
So in the meantime, it's just going to be smaller, kind of one-off things.
Yeah, and obviously, even when we're not doing specifically GW minis, I think
Yep.
these are going to be absolutely added into our arsenal here as well.
Oh, yeah, for
Because
sure.
I really do like using these. Because what I did to practice with them is instead of going straight to doing some Space Marines or GW models, I tried it on Nolzlers
Yep.
to see how it would work on the pre-primed stuff that they make.
Yep.
I tried it on a Bones Reaper model,
Right.
and I used the Corax
Corax white. Yep.
white on that. And then I did another model that I used another company's primer on.
Right.
Just to see how this will take to different primers and everything. And I will say, when I'm painting Nolzlers,
Yep.
I'm going to use it.
Right. Yeah, for sure. I actually used it on some minis from my buddy Joey on his some of his post-apocalyptic guys, and the Gulliman Flesh. Where is it? In here somewhere. There we go. So the Gulliman Flesh. Oh. Put it on the spinner. Yep. There we go. I use that on the flesh for those guys. They're raiders, kind of Mad Max style
Okay.
sort of things, and just splash that over the white prime over the flesh, and
They look great.
yep, look fine. I use some of the contrast paints for for their mohawks.
Okay.
So like Warp Lightning, just a single coat of Warp Lightning over a white primed mohawk. It's just like bam.
That sounds awesome.
And then everything else was, I went through, painted it all black, and
Okay.
highlighted some of it brown, and painted the jeans the way I'd normally paint the jeans, and black boots and that kind of thing.
Nice.
And the metals. So you don't have to use it across an entire miniature. It's a tool.
Yeah, it's a tool. And a good one.
Yep. Okay, so here I've got some of the Leviathan blue. So Morgan, hopefully this will, where we go.
It's pronounced Leviosa. Okay.
Leviosa.
Leviosa. Michael Harris asks, could you use that as a base and wash for a bunch of skeletons?
Yeah, there's the skeleton horde color, aptly named, would be perfect for that. I'll bust some of that out in a second. So, just quickly, Morgan, you're asking about the dark blue. This is the Leviathan blue. And I will admit, like this, the paint range combined with, so just recently, GW released the General's Handbook.
Okay.
I think it was either this weekend or just recently anyway. There's a section in there called about playing games of meeting engagements, which are a smaller scale
Okay.
set of games. And it's like, oh yeah, well, maybe I could grab those Ideneth Deepkin, the fishmen, or the sea elves, really. And build a force of those just for that. I don't have to go whole hog. But I think it'd be fun just to mess around. And so many of the names of the contrast paints are named for those. Like Leviathan. But there we go, Morgan. That's what I'm getting it looking like at the moment.
Start at the top.
Pardon?
You have to start at the top. Paint.
Like you mean?
Oh,
like,
so the contrast will like kind of let gravity do its thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
'Cause maybe that was his problem.
okay. Yep. So I'm going to pop that on the spinner there. What are we looking at? Oh, we're almost done.
Yeah.
So let me grab that skeleton horde. There we
We
go.
got about just a couple minutes for today's
minutes.
episode.
Okay.
And we will be back on Thursday, continuing to paint with the different contrast paints, and we'll delve into some of the other colors. We probably won't. I won't necessarily be working on this model again on Thursday.
Okay.
I was just wanted to see how it looked on, like you were saying,
Yep.
a large flat
Large
surface.
flat surfaces. Yep.
And I have opinions on it. There are
Yep.
aspects of it where I think I would use it on to get into like the cracks and crevices, but I don't necessarily think it's meant, like you said,
Yep.
for large flat surfaces.
No, it doesn't shine on those.
So
So there we go. So that's just quickly slapping it down on the. And that's the skeleton horde, and we'll let that dry. We can come back on Thursday and you'll get to see what that looks like there, and we'll show you how you can go back and highlight that. One thing I'm quickly going to mess around with is I'm going to pull out that. Where is it? The Gore Grunter. And I went and took one of the what do you call it? The Stormcast Eternals, and rather than priming him with the Wraithbone or the Grey Seer,
Okay.
sort of check out how it looked over the Retributor armor.
okay.
So this is a gold spray, which is kind of funny, spraying a gold spray over a gold model.
Right.
It's like, I'm not 100% sure if I got everything. I was kind of tempted to prime it black first and then
Okay.
gold again.
All right.
So we'll see. We'll see how it works. We'll see if I got everything.
So if you haven't already joined our Facebook group, if you're just first time checking in with us and seeing what we are all about and what we talk about, please go over to Painting Happy Little Minis, the Facebook group, and request a join, and we'll add you in there. You can show us your works in progress, and we like to show those off during our episodes. So maybe Thursday, if you have some contrast minis that you've been working on, we'd love to see them, and we'll show some off on Thursday. If you have any tips, tricks, or techniques, please share them. Or if you have any questions about how you can get certain effects, there's a lot of amazing painters in the group that will be more than willing to help you become a better painter.
Yep.
So
Exactly.
all sorts of good stuff over there.
So there we go.
And if you're on Twitch or like to follow our Twitch channel, we do have a I'm just going to plug it. Leona took the time out to set it up. But if you go over to our Twitch channel, www.twitch.tv/GameTradeMedia, we do have a merch store set up, and you can get some Painting Happy Little Mini swag over
Woot!
there if you are so inclined.
Yeah.
Obviously, you don't have to, but we would really like to see people with pictures of our coffee mug in their hand, or something like that.
Or them using it as a paint mug.
Or as a paint mug,
Paint,
yeah,
a mug
absolutely.
for paint water. Okay, so that's just quickly the Gore-Grunter fur over those.
Oh, nice.
So that's going to settle in pretty well. It might be a little bit, coming in a little bit thick down the bottom there. But you can just dab some of that away. And this can be a really nice kind of brass
Yeah,
kind of look.
it definitely has that look to it.
Yep. So I think messing around with different colors over silver is going to be interesting too.
Yeah,
So you can get some gold out of the silver. But yeah,
looks good.
sweet.
All right, everybody, we're going to have to wrap it up.
We are. That's right.
We went a little bit over. We do appreciate everybody that's joined us today. Make sure you come back Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern to watch us again here at Painting Happy Little Minis. I'm Rick,
I'm Dave.
and we'll see you at the game store.
Thanks for watching Painting Happy Little Minis. If you liked it, leave a like and a comment below, and make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any new content.